The reality is that anything that we do to create health in our body is beneficial for us. The question is, are we creating health? We know that our body needs to be stimulated through exercise. We know that what we put into our body becomes us on a cellular level. If we put garbage in, that's what we become. We know that our thought processes, what we think about day in and day out, make a difference in how we function. Negative thoughts create disease. The studies are very clear about it. We need to rest our bodies, all right? Even God rested on the seventh day. We need to rest on a regular basis, yet rest seems for some folks to be something they're not capable of really doing. And I don't mean just sleep. I'm talking about having downtime. So there's all these things, but above all that, if the nerve system is not connected to your body and we have interference, static, what we call subluxation in chiropractic, then all these good things we do for our body, we can put the best food in, we can have the finest exercise and even a personal trainer. We can be doing all the right things, but if there's interference, our body will not use what we give it and create the best health that we can have. It's essential that the brain and nerve system communicate without interference for our body to be optimally well. So all these factors, diet, exercise, rest, your attitude, all play a huge role. And that's part of our job as health coaches, as mentors for folks, is to help steer them. There isn't a cookbook. Everyone's very, very different. But there's principles, and the principles stay the same. How the principles are played out may differ from person to person. But the one thing that has to exist is there cannot be interference to the nerve system for the body to function at its highest level. Where in medicine, the doctor does the fixing, or the drug, or the surgery. There's some other deep fundamental differences. Our focus is on this flow of energy that's going through your nerve system. Their focus is on matter, cells, molecules, tissues. It's not that those things don't exist and they're not there, but essentially your body is about being alive with energy, not being alive with matter. If we're going to change someone's life and their vibrancy, we need to focus on the energy part, not the matter part. So there's some fundamental philosophical differences that exist. But there's changes happening. The more and more the research in the medical field is talking the language that we've been talking for 100 years in chiropractic. It's just like anything else. I mean, I think at first, when an idea comes along, there's ridicule, and then kind of a casual investigation, and then eventually it becomes the way it is. And I think that's what's happening in chiropractic. We're pretty close to the way it is. Yeah, in our office, you'll fill out some cursory paperwork that just gives us an idea of what we're going to want to talk about. We'll sit down and have a consultation and get a history. Really the questions that I ask are, how did you get here? How did you end up like this? What lifestyle did it take for you to end up where you are right now? Then we'll do an examination. We use some technologies in our office that actually measure the function of the nerve system that's going on in your body. They're non-invasive, easy tests to do, but they really measure how well your nerve system is balanced, how well it's functioning, and how well that nerve system is allowing you to adapt to your environment. We'll do a number of other tests, and if it's necessary, we'll do x-rays. And at that point, Well, that's when we have some work to do. We've got to take all this information, collate it, put it together with the stories that we've been hearing, the information that you shared with us, and find out what it's going to take to, number one, remove the interference that's going on in your system. Number two, to stabilize you after we've corrected that interference. And number three, share with you the opportunity that you have to go way beyond what your dreams were about how healthy you could be through a wellness lifestyle, through wellness chiropractic care. We look at, clearly we're looking for signs of nerve system interference. And we do regular assessments with the technologies that we have to know that we know that we know that we're correcting or not correcting nerve system interference. But when we get this first batch of information and we know where the nerve system interference is, as we go along, we're looking for signs. It may be changes in posture, changes in tension and tone along the spine. There is an alteration of what the spine feels like, what the tissues along the spine feel like if it's not properly aligned, if it's not in proper relationship. The tissues, if I tip my neck to this side, geez, the tissues on this side are kind of stretched out and the ones on this side are kind of crunched down. Well, if someone's lying there in a neutral position and I feel this, I know we have an imbalance. There's a symmetry issue. So I'm looking for signs and guides of subluxation, of interference of the nerve system. And then we correlate that with the information that we get on a regular basis through the rescans to know that we know we're correcting nerve system interference. The interesting thing is, though, it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with how we feel. It has to do with how we're healing. Well, that's the reality of subluxation. It's often like a cavity in your tooth. You go to the dentist to get an annual hygiene checkup, and they find out you got 3 cavities in your mouth, but you never knew. Well, without checking, you would never know. Subluxation is much the same way, except that a cavity rarely kills anybody. But a subluxation can be devastating to your health. Hey, if there's a subluxation that's affecting the nerves that go to your heart, do you think that might be a problem? And if you were to find out that it's a problem, how would it show up? 50% of the cardiac arrests in this country end in death. 50% of the times that you get cardiac arrest, that's the last symptom you get. So I think it's kind of important, way more important than getting your teeth checked. I'm saying that as a son of a dentist. But it's important to understand that subluxation cannot be felt. Long-term effects of subluxation end up with some sensory awareness to you, your body's way of saying, come on, dummy, do something about this. How long are you going to let me be choked off? And that's what symptoms are really telling people. So often you'll hear me ask the question to the folks that are lying down on the table, what do you think that means to you? What do your symptoms mean to you? And when we start putting what we feel together with what it means, now we're on the right track.